Hello, everyone. We're here with Chasidy Atchison, owner of Banjo Coffee in Avondale Estates. So thanks for joining me, Chasidy.
Happy to be here. Thanks for it today.
And you are outside on the Banjo Coffee patio there?
I am. I'm enjoying some beautiful looks at leaves and hearing all the folks go by. Yeah.
It's a nice setting, nice setting. So if you could tell us a little bit about the Banjo Coffee Company. I know you and your husband, Billy, run the business, and you guys have been doing this for some years now. So how did everything come to be, and where are you guys now as a company and a shop?
Oh, sure. So we started almost 7 years ago at our kitchen table. We had both moved. So we've moved all around. We're originally from Alabama. We moved to Chicago for several years and Los Angeles for several. And then after we started our family, we wanted to be back in the region so we could be closer to our, extended family. And we decided to move to Atlanta. And so we were both trying to figure out what our next step of career and life goals were. So I was working from home. I was working for a marketing company out in California. We had just kind of done that as we had transitioned, and Billy was trying to figure out his next steps. He was actually focused on acting at the time. He did that for 10 years. And we were experimenting with food. Our love of food has always come across, whether it was hosting Friendsgiving as we traveled across the country, or, just thinking about how we bonded with our family. It was always around the kitchen table or around the campfire. And that's always been our love language. So we had tossed around ideas throughout our marriage, which at the time, I think we were married for about 10 years. So we had always thrown around ideas of, maybe we have a food cart or, a food trailer, a food truck, something like that. After we moved to Atlanta, we knew we wanted to do something in that world, but we didn't know what it was. And like I said, I was working from home. Billy decided to start training for an ultra marathon.
Wow.
A marathon that took him to Chile in the desert for 5 days. And so he was out in the Atlanta sun training for hours, 6-8 hours at a time. And hot coffee in July while running is not a great thing. So we were looking around for cold brew. And because we had, throughout our travels, that's where we had developed a love and a passion for cold brew, just kind of an obsession, really. And when we got here, we didn't really find any cold brew. It hadn't really hit this region very hard yet. So we started experimenting, mason jars on the kitchen table. I would come downstairs from, doing all my marketing stuff and say, try this, this is the Guatemalan Ethiopian blend, or, this is dancing goats, or, we were just kind of going back and forth on taste that we liked and just kind of using it as an experimentation. And so, my marketing brain and his food brain and improvising brain kind of came together, and this food concept that we had kind of been batting back and forth for all these years finally had a purpose. And it just evolved so organically from that point where, we saw a need in the market. We were, needing as individual consumers, we saw that. And, I think it was a good point in my marketing career to develop the brands. I'd worked with, large brands and small brands, from Nestle to the North Face, and then small niche brands like, whey protein yogurts all over the map of size brands. So it kind of just evolved from the experimentation to, we could call it this, and we could do this with it, and we could go to farmers markets. And then that's where it was born. We decided to start bottling it. So found a bottler, or we found the bottles. We sourced them out of, I think it was Texas at the time. And we were doing everything by hand here in the Avondale area. So it just evolved. That was 7 years ago. And then we started in farmers markets. That first year we did, I think it was 11 farmers markets.
Wow.
In one season. And, some were rotational, but it was, Billy, myself, We had a 1-year-old at the time. And then eventually we hired a couple of employees to help us. And we were just doing all that we could to, I think, perfect the formulas and then also get our name out there. Got into Whole Foods soon thereafter. And yeah, that was the big first step, was the farmers markets and then getting into retail.
I think it's interesting. I never thought about it. I noticed at your coffee shop, you have lots of cyclists come through. Like that's the spot to stop, right? And so, but of course, I never really thought about the cold brew connection to why that would be extra desirable. Like you were just referring to, who wants to be on a hot Atlanta day having a hot coffee? I mean, I do, but but a lot of people don't. So I mean, you just totally, manage to understand something that people might love, and it's a very active city, right? So
yes.
And hot sometimes.
Hot to live, I guess. Yeah. And so from there we just kind of
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
So I would say after doing farmers markets just so much over that first year and a half, it was really the question of, well, where can we find you during the week? Do you have a coffee shop? Do you have a headquarters? And we were trying to find manufacturing spots that we could grow into. And the coffee shop came available here in Avondale. It was owned by a former coffee shop for 13 years before that. And they were trying to sell it. So we actually talked to the previous owners the day before it went on the market. And it was very kismet.
Yeah. Very.
Yeah. And so we just celebrated our 5th anniversary here.
Awesome. I mean, can you give us an idea of why you guys feel like you've been able to thrive? I mean, I don't know the inside story. Everybody, obviously, businesses had to suffer and change this past almost 2 years. But what do you think is the reason why you all are still standing as a coffee shop in a small community, frankly?
Yeah. Well, I think we have an amazing community that is super supportive of businesses that invest in the community. And we are rooted here. We live here. Our kids go to school here. We are, this is our bubble. And the community really stepped up in so many ways, just making sure that we survive this time. I mean, buying gift cards, getting anything and everything that they could from us. Like when pantry items became hard to find, we started selling different things here, and people would pick them up here or their local meats or whatever. I would say that's the main reason. And then the secondary reason is because we're nimble. We're small enough to still be nimble. And so that, horrible weekend mid-March where everything went topsy-turvy, we literally, I locked myself in the upstairs and built an e-commerce website to allow us to immediately go to curbside pickup and to do home delivery immediately. So we never closed the doors. We just kept pivoting. One of those words that we hear all the time now. We just pivoted as the consumers and as the consumer needs changed and the landscape of business and small business changed. We just kept going. And I'm not sure that we have ever stopped, changing and evolving. We were just doing it very quickly during that time.
Yeah, for sure. And successfully at that. So, and that kind of leads to my next question. Like, how do you see you guys, and it might not be what you're now talking about, but what do you think sets you all apart? I mean, I know you're cold brew. You guys didn't really close your doors. You just made people get their coffee differently. You made it very clear to everybody that coffee is still for sale here. We are in business. We are open. I mean, that was a unique thing when a lot of people were afraid and closing doors and trying to figure things out. But beyond all that, I mean, just as a product or a company, how do you feel that you guys set yourself apart from all the competition? I mean,
Oh, sure. And there is a lot of great competitors out there, of course, that we very much respect. I would say where we set ourselves apart is we are partnered with our roaster, Cafe Campesino, and they are the only 100% organic fair trade roaster in all of Georgia. And we've been with them since the very beginning, 7 years ago. So it's very important for us for the ethical sourcing, the organic nature, for the relationships that are built through the supply chain to be super authentic and ethical. So that's always been a focus for us, like from the very beginning, is 100% organic and fair trade. And it's really like it's above fair trade standards across the board. I think we pay our baristas a fair wage. We charge a fair price to our customers. The farmers, first and foremost, they get about 2.5, 3 times the amount of like fair trade requires, so that it's a livable wage for them as well. And we put those contracts in place annually to make sure that all these standards are continuously met. I would say from approach, we are just, our love language is coffee, but we are really here to serve the community. And so specialty coffee is what we're serving, and the quality standards are there. But our approach is really Southern hospitality and making everyone feel welcome when they walk in the door. We absolutely want to meet someone on their coffee journey. And if they're ready to geek out and learn more about brewing techniques, we are there for them. If they want it, a certain amount of sweetness or whatever, we go there too. We don't bring that kind of judgy, elitist approach to specialty coffee that some places do. We don't want to do that. We want to bring everyone in and help everyone to enjoy their coffee journey better and better.
That's funny, because I would say what stands out, because I've been going to you guys for the past few years, like there's really no comparison to me, because your standout thing is customer service. I mean, it's like, you think of the Ritz or Disney, they have very particular, unique ways of working with their guests, customers, and you all have that very specific connecting with everybody. It's like cheers, knowing everybody's name, what they like. I mean, you all really make a point. I remember you were training somebody was training somebody and telling them who everybody's name was as they were coming in and what they like. I thought, wow, you get a lot of customers, so that's a lot to try to do. So that's a standout,
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's super important to us. You're right.
Well, what do you guys think the customers love about you that from these years of experience now?
Well, I mean, to your point, I think customer service, I think people want to be known in their local businesses, and it's more of a relationship versus a transaction. And, I think that comes across to customers in various ways, like, from just the coffee that we sell to the products that we sell. I mean, everything in our fridge is 100% from Georgia, mostly from the Atlanta area. So we can talk about all the vendors that we support and supply, and all the standards of all the vendors and all of that stuff. So what do customers love? I think they like to be that we listen, and if something's wrong, they like to tell us that, and I'm okay with that. I'd rather hear it versus a yelp.
Yeah, right.
Or if there's it's kind of like the breakfast burritos. That's something that came about at the very beginning of the pandemic, because what we found was people wanted something that was hearty. It was a grab and go. It was it was a one-step type of product that they could eat and feel full and get what they needed. And that was at the very beginning of COVID that we kind of took on the context of what was happening, what people were saying, and said, okay, well, this is something that we can do to be helpful to others during their day. So, I think those kind of examples of listening and innovating in a way that fits our brand and our company, but also gives back to solving problems within food and beverage.
Sure. Is there anything that you think that people, or anything that you maybe understand that people don't even know about your coffee company, or we may have already covered it, but is there anything else that, people should know that maybe they might not know just by walking up and grabbing a coffee and running out?
Oh, sure. Well, our cold brew is actually made at our brewery that's a few blocks over. It's behind Tudor Village. So all the cans that you see in-house and that we distribute throughout the Southeast, and the kegs of cold brew that go into offices around town and here at the shop as well, it's all made here in Avondale, just a few blocks over by our team. Sometimes people don't make that connection of the branded product and us. And then I would say we brought in all of our pastries in-house. So we're making all of that ourselves as well.
Oh,
yeah. And as much as we can do in-house, we do. Like all of our sauces and syrups are made in-house. Gosh, we do a ton just by hand to bring that extra level of, flavor complexity or quality to it.
are you delivering coffees for I don't know what events or any sort of catering type things as well?
Oh, yeah, we do. We do catering. We do hot coffee and cold coffee catering, as well as pastries. We are working on a coffee trailer right now. I don't know if you've seen it on our Instagram, but yeah, we're working on getting it painted right now. But it should be ready this spring to release out into the wild.
Taking it on the road.
Exactly. Yeah. And we've always done music festivals like Shaky Knees and Music Midtown. We've done those for years. We skipped, this past year, but that's always been at the heart of the company as well, is to be in communities and in the music scene and bring the cold brew there.
Okay. All right, everybody, well, look out for the Banjo Coffee Trailer, because coming to a neighborhood near you. Well, thank you, Chasidy, for being here. Wish you guys all the best. You all are wonderful, stand out, all that good stuff. Wishing you great success, and thanks for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate you.